Hello everyone, and welcome to this video where I want to share a list that I came up with of my 6 top side hustles that I think teens can start right now, or really anybody, but especially for teens because there aren't a lot of opportunities out there that do pay well at a younger age typically. And so these are the ideas that I came up with that have low to no startup costs, and I kind of rank them in terms of the pay potential as well as how easy it is. Okay, now that I think about it, they're not ranked in any order. So just watch the entire thing to get all of the ideas, and maybe you can think of some of your own or get inspired. So to start this off with, my first one is selling goods that you own, or selling used goods if you want. So I think this falls into 2 buckets that you can do. You can either sell goods that you already have, so like used goods that or maybe not even used, maybe they're new and they're just sitting around in your house, you're never going to use them again, it's just they're collecting dust, or you have used it before and you will never use it again, like something that you've grown out of, like a bike, who knows, whatever it is, right? Instead of, letting it sit there collecting dust or throwing it away, maybe you want to potentially try selling it on Facebook Marketplace, eBay, Nextdoor, whatever it is. And I've actually done this myself. If you're just doing this as you're selling things that you used to own, it's not as much of an income generator as much of it like cutting losses and getting what you can, which is nice because you're going to throw it away anyway, right? But I wouldn't recommend if you're like, I want some income, but it is nice to get money for something that you were going to throw away anyway. So that's one option. The other option is some people will go out and flip items. So if you go on like Facebook Marketplace or Nextdoor or whatever places, you can find a lot of people giving stuff away that they don't want for free. And so you could potentially look for free items, recognize that they have value, get them, or if you want, you can also buy things for cheap, but that would bring in startup costs. So I would go for the free ones first, but you do also need to factor in, the travel time and if it's worth it, the gas and all of that. But you could potentially get an item and flip it. You recognize the value, you're able to maybe refurbish it, make it look nice, great pictures, make a huge deal. Cleaning something will make a huge deal, and you can flip it for a profit. But here I do have a caveat for both selling things that you've used and flipping items. The more expensive or the more value that item has, the better off you're going to be in terms of profit, because if it's something like, a notebook, for example, or something that's not worth a lot, you're not going to be able to sell it for a lot, versus if you get a really big piece of furniture, you might be able to get that for free and sell it for, $100, $200 versus something like a Frisbee, which nobody should be selling a Frisbee for a lot of money. And a used Frisbee won't go for it. Anyway, tangent there. The point is, the higher the value, the more money you're going to be able to make off of this. But I think this is great if you just have something lying around that you want to get rid of. If you get really good at flipping things, that could also be really lucrative. A lot of people on eBay made their fortunes that way. But there is a lot of competition, and you do have to be strategic about how you take pictures, cleaning it up, how you write the copy, and getting it out to people. So that is a whole science, but it is a great way to sell things that you don't use, and if you get good at it, it can be a great business. So number 2 on my list is tutoring. Basically, this is like if you are good at something, you can sell that skill. So if you're really good at math, you're really good at science, you're really good at test taking, you're really good at essay writing, whatever it is, it doesn't even have to be academic. Tutoring could be like teaching. Maybe you're good at piano, guitar, some musical skill, or maybe some sport, maybe you're really good at tennis. I've seen people asking like, hey, who knows tennis and I can teach my kid. So tutoring kind of falls under teaching. So selling some knowledge that you have. And the great thing about this is you don't really need to put any additional time into this to get started. So for example, when you're selling something, you have to take pictures, you have to post it, you have to write the description, everything. Tutoring, same thing. You do need to write a post or tell people about it so they know about it. But once you've done that, once your information's out there, you just wait pretty much for the clients to come if you've done it good or if you're with a company. If you're selling things, you have to repeatedly post new items, because once you've sold that item, if you want to sell more, you got to do more work for it. Unless somebody comes up with an automated bot, that'd be pretty cool. But for tutoring, once you put it out there and you already know it, you don't need to put extra time into learning that subject, because ideally, if you're teaching that subject, you should be really good at it. I do not recommend faking it until you make it, typically. That's not a good idea. If you are teaching something, make sure you pretty much know it. And that's not to say if you're teaching calculus, you need to know, every single thing about calculus proofs, but the general stuff that kids are going to learn in class. If you're going to be a calculus tutor, you should know that stuff. So I think tutoring is a great way, and there's a lot of great earning potential. If you teach lower subjects, you might get a lower rate. If you teach higher, harder subjects, you will be able to get more, but it's also very flexible. No transportation costs. You don't need to go get an item. unless you want to do in-person tutoring, that's totally up to you. But if you just do it online, very low startup cost because you're probably already paying for internet if you're watching this video, or data, and you probably already have some type of device to do it from. So tutoring is a great option, and the great thing about tutoring is you have endless clients. Kids are being born every single day and they have to go to school. So there you go. The third one that I want to talk about is kind of pet sitting versus like babysitting, and I want to group those together because you're kind of just like watching a living thing. And so for pet sitting and babysitting, unless you're doing it for some very rich client in a rich neighborhood, which if you are, good for you, lucky you, that's awesome. I'd love to do that too. So the rate you can potentially charge for pet sitting and babysitting is going to be lower than the potential for tutoring. In some extreme circumstances, they might be the same, but typically tutoring, you have a higher earning potential just because the higher subject you teach, you can charge a greater rate, versus pet sitting and babysitting. It's like, you don't need too much skill to do it most of the time, especially for pet sitting. It's gonna be fun, I feel like, or walking a dog or something like that. The kid is gonna be there as long as they don't do something bad. Obviously, like, watch them, but you're not gonna be like not 24/7, but like every second you're gonna be like, hey, interacting, right? Like tutoring, you're typically gonna be every minute you have to talk to this kid, work them through the problem, right? Babysitting, as long as they're there, they're safe. You don't have to like actively be there playing with them every second. That might be annoying for the kid or the dog too, right? The owner just wants somebody there, like, or parent, not owning a child, owner of the pet or parent of the child, they just want to be sure, there's an adult that's there to take care of my child and pet, so nothing will happen. They can feed them, they can play with them, but you don't actively, you can technically do some other, you can look at your phone. You don't need to stare at this child every single second. Don't do that. That's kind of weird. And for that reason, you're not going to be able to charge as much because it is a little more low scale, and almost anybody can do it as long as you're a responsible adult. You don't have to have gone through the education. You don't need to know like calculus or statistics or biology, right? You don't need to know that stuff as long as you know, how do I keep a child and dog relatively, safe, alive, and all that. And I'm sure there's a lot more that goes into it, but I think it is going to be easier than tutoring. But the earning potential is also a little bit lower, but you could do other things while you're, still paying attention to the child/dog, right? And that's why I put it 3 kind of after tutoring, but still pretty high on the list. But again, this list is kind of not in any order because for different people, it might be better for you to do other things. So my number 4 side hustle is starting an online business of your own. And so technology is getting so crazy these days, and with the illness, you can't really do a lot of in-person stuff, but it's just really getting rid of a lot of barriers. You could easily start a business on your own if you're like really good at some skills. So for example, if you're really good at editing, maybe you could edit articles. If you're good at writing, you could write articles. You could be a ghostwriter. If you're really good at marketing, you could maybe write the copy for ads, or you could make the ads, the pictures, whatever you're really good at. You can start an online business and just start your skills. If you're really good at video editing, for example, making videos, taking photos, whatever it is, start an online business and get clients that way, and that could be a very lucrative business. And this kind of relates to my number 5, which is be a freelancer and freelance your skills. So for example, if you're really good at art, digital art, maybe you're really good at music, maybe you want to sign up for one of those freelancing sites like Fiverr, Upwork, and a few other ones, or post in your neighborhood thing like Nextdoor, or post in Facebook, or wherever else you can post about your services and try and get clients, or just like sell what you're good at. You can commission art pieces, freelance things like, I'll write this for you, I'll draw this for you, I'll edit this for you. And so they're kind of related. And so the nice thing about this is it's also very low startup cost because you're doing it online. So, you typically already have internet, computer, and you can do that, and you're doing something you love. You could make money doing something you love, right? And creating value for others. So that is also a great way to, get some side hustle income. My final side hustle income that I want to talk about is number 6, and that is going and getting a restaurant or retail job, your classic, teen college student job that most people think of when they think about, getting a side hustle income. And I put this last because in terms of earning potential and kind of ease, it's on the lower scale, but it still made my list of 6 top side hustles. Because if you don't want to do any of the 5 that I said before, this is going to probably be one of the easier ones you can get that actually will hire a teen, but it doesn't pay as much and you need to be active. You're gonna be standing there in the store for the entire time. You know, you're not in the comfort of your own home. It's not going to be as flexible as an online job just because, you know, the manager's like, I need somebody staffed right now versus, you know, I'm tutoring. I'm like, no, I can't tutor your kid at that time. It doesn't work for me. You know, the manager's like, I need you to be here or you need to find somebody to cover your shift. In terms of flexibility and cost, you know, you will probably need some kind of transportation to get there. If you're a student, at least where I was, the bus is free, which is really nice, or free for a period of time or very cheap. So maybe you could use that if you have a car, you know, that's some cost. So I rank it lowest on my list in terms of the pay and the costs you will need to incur, because the time you're going to be standing there the whole time, and you're going to need some way of transporting yourself back and forth because it's not online. You can't just stay at home. But it still made my list because there aren't that many jobs that will pay you a rate and will be willing to hire you if you don't have some kind of higher education or even some kind of like trade. You know, like some people will go become plumbers or electricians, which is great, but you still need that kind of certification or that training. And if you're a teen, it's gonna be easier to get this kind of job. And if you notice, like the first 5 that I mentioned are all working for yourself. So you're gonna you have to be very self-disciplined to go get the clients, you know, talk to the clients, manage all that money, collect all the money, versus working for the retail job. You just go in, clock out, whatever it is, and you get paid. So it's relatively easier in terms of like you don't need to manage anything because you are being managed. You have a manager, you have everything, you work for a company, but it takes all of that off your plate, but it does pay less and it has less earning potential. Like for the before ones, if you're really good at something, you could earn endless amount of money. For the retail job, you're capped by how many hours you work. So there are pros and cons to all 6 options, and for everybody, the best option is going to be different. So I kind of rank this according to maybe how well they are for me, maybe, I don't know. But for you guys, maybe this is a good list of what to get started with. Maybe you want to pick one of these and go with it, and if it doesn't work out, you know, maybe try another one. I definitely recommend trying it for a longer period of time before you scrap it. Don't try just one thing for a day, be like, oh, it didn't sell, let me take it down. You know, sometimes it takes a few weeks to sell an item. If it's priced right, it'll go immediately. If it's not, or if it's not, you know, such a popular item, maybe it'll take a little bit of time. So pick an idea, try it for a period of time, and then depending on if you like it or not, how it's working out, maybe you want to try something else. So these are just starter ideas that you can get started with that are great for like getting started easy with low cost. There are obviously lots of other ways to make money, to make side hustle income, but hopefully this gets you started. So if anything in this video was helpful or inspired you or you liked it, please consider liking or even subscribing. That would be very appreciated. But otherwise, that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you guys have a lovely day. Bye.